So, what does it mean to be second? Uh, you know, I never really thought I was number one. Not to say I'm like this super humble guy, because that actual saying in itself will kind of defeat the purpose. Um, Growing up, I didn't really have much. My dad was an alcoholic. My mom was mentally ill. Um, we didn't have much money, so I didn't dress better than any other kids. Actually, most of my clothes came from the Goodwill. So there was a bit of humility in my childhood. I was rough. My parents divorced when I was 6. My dad didn't get custody because my mom was very sick. Um, and growing up, I think when I was about 10, my dad remarried, and she had 3 kids, and we were really tight. We bonded really well, and as time went on, I turned down drugs all through school. I got started getting offered in middle school, actually, surprisingly, and by the time I got to high school, I had just had this one excuse I use all the time, that pot gives me migraine headaches. I don't think I've ever heard of anybody legitimately getting migraine headaches from pot, but that was my excuse, and it worked all the way into my junior year. And my best friend, my junior year, ended up pushing and pushing and pushing until finally I caved, and I got high my junior year for the first time, and it became like a weekend thing. We would do it like every weekend. We'd get high and we'd laugh like idiots for hours on end. And the thing is, like growing up, I told myself I would never smoke. I would never drink, because my dad was an alcoholic, and I saw what it did to him. I saw what it did to our family. It like destroyed us. It crushed us. My dad almost got 3 DUIs, and had to go to jail. It was bad, and I knew I wanted nothing to do with that. So I swore I would never smoke cigarettes, and I would never drink. And after 6 months of smoking pot, they say it's not a gateway drug. After six months of that, I convinced myself that I was different. I was my own person. I didn't have to be like my dad, and so I started drinking, and we started drinking. This is my junior year, spring of my junior year, going into senior year. By the time my senior year came around, I was getting hammered like every weekend. My first like month of my senior year, I was getting high like every day before school, giving my younger sister excuses. I was smoking pot every night with my older stepsister. She'd come home and she would wake me up. She'd be like, "Yo, you want to blaze?" And we would get high. And that was our relationship. Next thing you know, my little brother, who's like 14 at the time, starts trying to hang out. Here I'm in this position to be an influence, and this is how I influence him. And he starts doing it on its own, because I told him I don't want anything to do with that. You're gonna party. You're 14. You're too young. And he starts anyway. So I'm like, you know what? You're gonna do it. You might as well do it smart. So I'm gonna show you the ropes. And so I took him under my wing, and as I went on, when I was 18, going on 19, I met this girl, Heather. She was fantastic. She was everything I ever dreamed of, and somehow she was interested in me. She had no idea the crazy partier I was. But anyway, we hooked up. I had all these friends, just hundreds of friends that I party with every day. Not hundreds of friends every day, but this group of friends that we partied together all the time, literally every night. I mean, for like 3 years, I was hammered every single night, driving, driving home. That was how I got down. Um, this story really got interesting in 2004. Um, I my home relationship with my dad got really crazy because I was partying so much. My dad had been there. He knew where this road went, and he wanted me to have nothing to do with it. And so we would end up fighting a lot and end up like arguing and almost like fist fighting until eventually um, I one night I took my brother out and we partied and I lied about it and I got kicked out of my dad's house and so I ended up moving in with my mentally ill mom in a house and it was just really bad. It was a really bad environment. And over the next 6 months, things just escalated and built up until I went to Beach Week with Heather. She graduated, um, and and we go down to Beach Week, and it's like this crazy party. It's like the pinnacle of like my partying days. And I get back from Beach Week, and every night I'm staying out at parties later and later, looking for something like Beach Week, looking for something to top it, and nothing comes close. And finally I had this terrible experience where I end up getting pulled over at 5 in the morning, just plastered drunk downtown, and she lets me off with a ticket for running a stop sign. And the next morning I woke up just scared to death because the night before I barely remembered anything from the night before, but I drove my friend around all over the city all night long, and I apologize. And the first time I ever realized that I didn't remember anything from the night before, and I was scared. Like I said, I'm not going to drink and drive anymore. And 2 weeks later, 4th of July, 2004, um, I'm at the Diamond watching fireworks with with Heather and her family, and all night my phone's blowing up about these parties, and so finally I go get my friend, and we go to this party, and I pass on doing some coke because I don't like that anymore at this point, and I just drink a bunch of vodka, and then I drink a bunch of beers, and then my buddy shows up from Radford. He's trying to get something to eat. Of course, being the cool guy I am, we go get my pot. We're riding down there, and I'm peeling out, and I get pulled over. DUI, possession of marijuana, concealed weapon. I go to jail, and uh, and I woke up, and I had to call my girlfriend the next day, scared to death, and tell her what had happened. And she, before she gave me an ultimatum, I told her I was done. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. I'm not partying anymore. And the next 7 days, I didn't have my license. I'm stuck in my house. My friends keep coming over, and we're kind of drinking, and we're kind of, doing some drugs. And it's really bad. I'm really depressed. Just really depressed. And I finally get my license back, and I'm driving to her house. I'm flipping through the radio stations, and I'm looking for my classical music station because my mind was a mess, and I just needed something to calm me, to give me peace so my thoughts could flow. And it stopped on this Christian radio station, and it was this pastor from California preaching the gospel, and I'd never heard the gospel. I didn't even know what that was, but he was telling about this dude named Jesus who can take your cares away. And if you're thinking that you're going to wait your whole life until you've done all you want to do, and then you're going to do the church thing, then you're going to do the Christian thing, then you might as well give up now, man, because it's never going to happen. Your life's never going to get right. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, wow, like, I need this Jesus. My life is like over now. I am 19 going on 20, and my life is crushed. I'm a smart dude. I'm not in school. I had all this potential, and I gave it away to drugs and alcohol and partying. And anyway, he presented the gospel and the salvation message, and I prayed, and I got these tears and just overfilled with joy and peace of God that I was good. And the next 6 months I spent just seeking God, just listening to sermons all day long. But I had lost all those friends. They stopped calling. I stopped seeing. We just stopped hanging out. They had nothing to do with me, and I got lonely. I got so lonely. I had no friends. The church I found, I started going to, there was nobody really seeking God my age, and so I started randomly going back out to see my old friends. And then one night out, I met this dude. He was kind of like posing as an angel of light. We drank all night long until the sun came up. And as the sun was coming up, I broke down crying. I was like, I'm not supposed to be doing this, man. I'm a Christian. Like, God save me from this. I don't need this crap. and he yelled at me. He's like, dude, I don't want to hear it, man. I was a youth leader when I was 14. Man, how do you think I feel? I live with this lifestyle. I live with knowing all that and doing this every day. I don't even want to hear it. And I was like, wow, this dude can relate to me. Like, he knows the truth, and he wrestles with this. And so I started hanging out with this guy in hopes that I can share Christ with him in a way that we both can, like, be like Christians together, like real Christians. And I bring it up again, and he tells me that he only likes to talk about when he's hammered, and even then he doesn't like to talk about it. And so next thing you know, I'm trying to pull this guy up out of the muck. I'm trying to pull him up and save him, and in the process, he pulls me down with him, and I end up in this lifestyle for 2 years, way darker than ever it was. I did way harder drugs than I ever did. I drank more than I ever had. Um, and it was frightening. And I spent 2 years doing that. And in the process, I became a bartender and saw all kinds of crazy stuff. And that led to me selling life insurance. And so I'm selling life insurance, and I get invited to these church groups, and they're talking about baptism. And when you're really saved, when like you're really, really saved, like when you meet God, your life is forever changed. And they told me that message about getting hit by a bus and how God's so much bigger. But if you're hit by a bus, you will never look the same. Same thing with God. You're hit by God, you never will be the same. And they said, you say you were hit by God, but look, you looked exactly the same for the past 2 years. And I wrestled with that. And then finally, February 3rd, 2007, I had to face the fact that I had been living this extreme life, this crazy drug-induced party lifestyle with money and cool people and party life, and none of it made me happy. I mean, it did for a little while, but once I knew about God, like it just wasn't the same. And but I didn't know this Christian life. I knew like the Sunday going to church Christian thing, and you know, I tried that for 6 months, and it was nothing. You know, I wasn't interested. I would rather live without rules and party my butt off and just be hungover all my life than do that religious life. And so I said, God, on February 3rd, 2007, I said, God, this might be true. If this is true, I want to know. You talk about abundant life, show me. Show me abundant life. If you're serious, if you are legit, I give you everything I have. I'm just gonna try. I'm gonna read this book, and I'm gonna follow it. And if you're real, you need to show me. You need to for real show up. And so as I'm selling life insurance, God starts showing up. He starts like just doing crazy things that you can't say are coincidence. Like just showing up in meetings with people, and people are like, hey, God told me this, God told me to tell you that. And I'm like telling people stuff, and they're like freaking out because I'm ministering to them. And then my grandpa calls me one day and he's like, Tyler, how's your ministry going? And I'm like, ministry? What are you talking about? I sell life insurance. The light bulb goes off. Wow, I could be talking about Jesus every day, all day long. So as I start to do that, as I say, God, give me opportunities. Every day, all day long, God is blowing my mind with people and opportunities to share Christ and to see God work right in front of me. The God of the universe was hanging out with me every day, was walking with me and talking with me and living life with me. My old friends weren't even doing that. They wanted nothing to do with me. But this God, like, for real saw something in me. So for 6 months, I did this pretty much by myself. I had this one dude who we smoked pot together and praised God for a while until we both got convicted that we weren't supposed to be smoking pot. That was not right. And but then I ran into an old party friend. This dude who every time I saw him, he was so strung out on drugs, he couldn't even speak. Words couldn't even come out. He would just be like, blah, blah, and blah, blah, blah. And, and, and I heard that he was a Jesus freak. So I got his number and I called him up while I was at the beach with my family. And as I sat on the shore watching a meteor shower that God had set up for me to watch his glory, I talked with my friend about how awesome our God is, about how he radically changed his life, how he delivered him from drugs and alcohol. He delivered him from sexual immorality. He delivered him from so many things, and now was using him in all these ways. And I listened to him, and I'm like, man, this dude is a Jesus freak. He just like acts like a crazy Christian. But that's the way they act in the Bible. Like, why am I like so timid about this? When I was a partier, I was a balls of the wall partier. And I'm kind of this timid, shy Christian. Why? So I said, screw it. I already lost all my friends. What do I got to lose now? And so that's when things got interesting. So I really started to seek God, and I just put it out there. This is who I am. I love Jesus. Jesus is life for me. And and so that fall, I got this opportunity. It came to a crossroads. I got offered an internship with New York Life, just selling life insurance, or my grandma offered to pay for me to go to school for ministry. And I was like, I don't really even like insurance that much anyway. I mean, it's cool, but talk about death all day. I'd much rather talk about abundant life all day forever and not really have any money. Because, like I said, I don't really care about money too much. I mean, I grew up pretty poor. And so the next spring, life started to get pretty hectic because my girlfriend of 5 years at this point wasn't really with me spiritually. I loved her more than anything. I put her before everything, including God, all the time. And I got so convicted because what I had done was I had become in bondage to our relationship. And I couldn't live fully who God wanted me to be because I was stuck in a relationship that didn't glorify God. And if anything, it really upset him. And she told me that she was changing, she was trying to change, but one day I realized that she wasn't. She said these things to keep me. She pretended just to hold on to me, and it was that point I had to let her go into the hands of God and say, God, take care of her. I can't do this anymore. And I remember that Sunday, I never felt more free in my entire life. Just to go wherever God would have me go. In the next like 6 months or so, 5-6 months, I just spent like seeking, going wherever I heard about a church, I heard about a Bible study, I heard about anything going on with God. I was there. I was doing it and living it and just being unhindered fully for God. And it was the most just exciting time in my life during that point. And next thing you know, I'm in school and they're doing blood donations. And I walk up and he's like, hey, you want to do a double donation? And I'm like, that's saving more lives, right? Hook it up. And next thing you know, I am in the bed, sick as a dog. And I'm lying there, and all I want is Heather. All I want is Heather. And I realize that when I am down, when I'm sick, when I am not feeling well, when I'm lounging around, I just want her to be with me. I just want her to take care of me. I want her to be with me to do nothing. And and I kept calling her and calling her. And finally, she took my calls, and God got us back together. And immediately, I knew I wanted to be with her forever. And so I proposed, and we got engaged. And I was like, 6 weeks. God has put this in my heart. We will be married, and we'll be at the beach, and we'll be in school, and be perfect. And we were good until her friends convinced her that was crazy. And so our first opportunity to live crazy faith, we didn't. You know, we passed it by, and God's so faithful. He's used that, and He's used it mightily in a ministry. And we have seen consequences from not moving when He told us to. But God is so merciful that He's given us so many opportunities and so much grace to just live abundantly here and now. Summer of 2009, the first summer that we were married, I had been talking to the youth pastor at church about working with the youth, and so I got the opportunity to start teaching midweek Bible study, and it went great and fantastic, and I got to hang out and make a lot of good relationships, and that continued through the fall, and I even got the opportunity to start working with them for the summer. You know, right now is that time, and I just finished my first half year at Regent University, just pursuing my bachelor's in Christian ministry. So it's up to today. I've been married for a year. I'm loving it. We've grown so much. It was a lot of hard times, a lot of learning one another, a lot of learning how to be one. Um, but it's so worth it. So incredibly worth it. Um, if you would have asked me, if you would have asked me 7 years ago where I'd be today, never in a million years would I believe that I would be where I am right now, doing what I'm doing right now. God would have never been in the equation. But I had no direction then. I had no goal. Now, anything's possible. God is the ultimate in my life. He is my leader. He is my breath, my everything. And it's because of Him. And it's because of what He's given me, and a second chance, and a million chances, that He is always number one. And I'm lucky to be second.